What's really good, all you mountain biking people? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Sean. Save this video. Even though there's not any mountain biking action in it, whether your muscles are all in knots from competing in your first race or you crash and fall, you're gonna wanna know all about my bucket. Because if you get hurt and that soreness just gets compounded by all the other bumps and bruises, pretty soon you won't be able to ride your mountain bike, and that's really gonna suck. You're just stuck watching it on YouTube, wishing you could heal faster. Well, guess what? You can with what's in my rehab bucket. Everything here isn't just for mountain bikers either, but any endurance athlete. Trail runners, triathletes will also find much of this really handy between training sessions. So I'm just gonna go through everything I've got. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm not some chiropractor or anything like that, but I've been a patient many, many times. And I know not everybody is lucky enough to marry a licensed physical therapist. So what I'm going to do is go through everything I've got, and if you go to the chiropractor or if you get hurt, you go to a doctor, you're just really sore from overexerting yourself and your muscles aren't recovering as quickly as you'd like them to. Having a lot of this stuff will save you so much money and so many more follow-up trips to whatever healthcare provider you may seek out to help you in your recovery from soreness, stiffness, achy joints, or maybe you just crashed and fell. So first up, we got foam rollers, two different types, the gentle type and the rowdy type. Now, these regular foam rollers you can pick up at any sports store. There's tons of tutorials online and books and different things that you can get to learn how to use these properly. So I highly recommend one of these. This is called the rumba roller. This is for really like sore when you got those golf ball feeling knots under your skin, your muscles just feels like you got a rock in there somewhere. This is good for working out those knots. So one of these is handy also. If you're on your feet a lot or you do a lot of running, this is so good. This is a pressure mat. You stand on it, you walk on it, you basically lay down on the floor and you stand on it and walk on it. Now, regarding something like this, you can find these on all kinds of websites, buy them on Amazon, wherever you might look for these things. But when it comes to recovery, there's one thing that a lot of healthcare providers or doctors may not mention or may not drive home enough for it to sink in, and that's posture. You can do a lot of things to help yourself recover, but if your posture's not quite right, that's one little tricky thing that could really speed along your recovery. And what I've done here that I just want to demonstrate quickly for you guys is you can see this yoga mat's got a pattern on it. Well, cool thing to have in your rehab box is just a simple tape measure. Now, if you've ever gone to that chiropractor's office, you'll notice they got posters of the skeleton and the muscular system. And it's always, you can draw a perfect line between your ankles, your knees, your hips, and your shoulders. That's what you want to do whenever you're doing any kind of exercise that they're going to want to give you. So what you do is you take this, measure from your armpit to your other armpit, put that down on the floor, get yourself a yoga mat. I like this square one because it's nice and symmetrical. And then just get a marker, and now, whenever you're doing stretches or yoga or anything that's going to help get rid of your pain, make you feel better faster, you can align your feet perfectly with the lines on the mat so that you know your feet are exactly in line with your hips and your shoulders. Another easy little thing that can help. When my muscles get sore, you need to put ice packs on them. And you can go to the store and buy all kinds of ice packs. I recommend buying a bunch of different straps. This one's got a T shape to it, so you could put it on your arm and around your shoulder. A lot of these just have plain Velcro straps that you can just put anywhere on yourself to get whatever ice wherever you need it. Good rule of thumb is about 20 minutes with ice and then 20 minutes off and then 20 minutes on again. Too much ice for too long, that can cause damage to your skin, so I'm not going to recommend that. some extra Velcro straps because sometimes you can't get those ice packs to stay in place and you need another one. Now, if you really want to go hardcore on ice therapy, this thing's pretty cool to have. This is an Arctic ice system. And what it does is you fill the compartment there full of ice. There's a pump in there. You plug it in, it runs through this hose. It's got a timer on it. You can set it to from 15 minutes all the way up to 45 minutes. And just switch it on, connect this hose, and you've got another ice delivery system for your shoulder or your hip, your leg, wherever you want to put this. But again, this is where those extra Velcro straps come in handy. So if you are seriously getting into mountain biking to the point where you have to have ice therapy every now and then because your muscles are just taking that much exercise into them, yeah, this is a handy thing to have. It's pretty cool. Once you've got the ice going, you're also going to want to exercise a lot. And one thing I can never have enough of, TheraBands. These TheraBands are great for when you're recovering because they're not as harsh on your muscles as free weights. You can control them a lot better when it comes to, going really, really slow. It also helps with your posture. I like to tie a knot in mine so that you can stick it in a door, close the door, and it's right there. You can use both hands to do whatever exercises you may be needing to help yourself recover a little bit faster. Now, the different colors are basically different weights, different resistances in the band. I don't recommend buying other resistance bands because I've tried a bunch of them, and the TheraBand ones, they really do have the best consistent resistance throughout the band itself. There's a lot of others out there that they just kind of feel like an overweight rubber band, and you only feel the resistance at the end or at the beginning, but then in the middle there's a lot of play. So different levels of these for when you hurt yourself, you can slowly build your muscle back. Once you're comfortable with one level, you can build up to the next level. Also, there are these door jams that you can get from TheraBand. These will help you put the strap over the door top, and you can use it that way as well. Not quite the same as tying a knot in it, but tying a knot in it will make it rip over time. So this helps preserve the life of the TheraBand. Another thing they make is this cool gripper. If you've ever hurt your wrists really bad, you'll know that it's really hard to get that flexion back in your wrist. And having something like this, even though it seems really mundane, can really help increase the tiny muscles in your fingers, your hands, and your wrists, should you have to come back from a wrist injury of some kind. One of my favorite things in here is so cheap. This is just a lacrosse ball that you can pick up at any sporting goods store. But lacrosse balls are hard enough that they make the perfect massage tool for your arms, your shoulders, your neck. You can just really dig into there and it feels great. It's like having a little foam roller just in the palm of your hand. Another thing that I really like that's along the same line of that is this, made by Mirison. It's a 2-in-1 ball roller, much like the lacrosse ball, but it's got a metal ball in it that comes out, it detaches from the base. And what you can do with this is you can stick this ball in the freezer until it's ice cold, then pop it back in there, and you've got a really good ice massage for your legs, your forearms, your neck, your shoulders, any place you might be feeling sore. So you also get that massage, plus you're getting ice. Anything like this, if it saves you that extra $200 trip to the chiropractor's office or whatever you might be spending money on to try to heal faster, there's a lot of cheaper methods out there that can save you a lot of money and help speed along your recovery between those doctor visits or whatever injury you may be coming back from. So another thing that's also similar to the TheraBand wrist remedy is this little gyroscope guy. And this is called an auto start hand gyroscope. Now, you know you got problems with your wrists if you use one of these things and it makes you feel really clumsy, because the idea of it is you're supposed to wind it up and keep the force going on the inside of the machine. You can feel something kind of waddling around in there, and it feels like it's got its own centrifugal force going around on the inside of the casing. But if it stops, moves around, it's kind of hard to grab onto. It makes you feel really clumsy. This is something that my chiropractor introduced me to, and yeah, it made me feel really clumsy, but it also let me know that my wrists could really use some work. And my hands are feeling kind of stiff in certain parts, so that's another cool little gadget to have. These are a little bit more on the pricier side, so I wouldn't recommend getting this unless you've got a problem with your forearms and your wrists that's been bothering you for a really long time and you're just trying to try something else. So, back onto the massage tools. This is one of my favorite little buddies to have. This is called a gua sha. Forgive me if I mispronounce that. You can look it up later, but English pronunciation would be something like a massage blade. You see a lot of trainers for endurance athletes take these to their legs after they've had a really hard run or a really hard training session. And essentially, anywhere I go where I'm going to be waiting for a while or sitting still for a while, I can just stick this in my pocket and take it with me. And if I got a cramp in my arm, I can just dig that in there really good. Now, you want one that's got a lot of heft and weight to it. This one's solid copper. I just bought it online. But it really does the job for getting those knots out of your forearms. And again, you could also use it on your shoulder or your legs. I like to use it on my hands because it's shaped in such a way that you can really get into that meaty part between your thumb and your finger, where sometimes if you push hard enough, you may not have noticed, but feel like, oh wow, that stings some. And this can help massage the palms of your hands. So I really like that. My wife prefers this. This is her thumb. I know it kind of looks like a beetle or something, doesn't it? But you basically put your thumb in there like that, and you can really dig into your calf muscles. If you got a cramp in your leg, you can just seriously push down without really, bending your thumb back or hurting your hand. Another cool little gadget to have. All along the same lines of not really moving around a lot and just sitting still, if you've got one of those, one of these are handy to have too. These are basically things for tennis elbow or braces for your knee that can also go on your arm. And it's kind of like a compression sock. It's really tight. You're just supposed to wear it half the day, all day, however long you feel like it. And the idea is to get your blood flowing so that your muscles are not as stiff as they should be. This one is pretty much for tennis elbow. It's got a typical strap on it, but if you've got a knot on your forearm or maybe just above your elbow, as you can see, it's got a little ball in there. Well, not really a ball, it's just a pad. And you put that pad right on where you're experiencing the pressure. And it's kind of like if you've ever gone to a massage therapist and or a chiropractor, and they just leave their thumb in one place for a really long time, and then eventually that knot in your muscle disappears. That's kind of the same thing that this is doing. So if you're at a sporting goods store and you're looking for something to alleviate your pain, help you feel better a little bit faster, these are some of the things that you can look for. Now, this is another thing to work out muscle knots, and this is great. I found this a long time ago. It's called the Back Buddy Stick. I think that's what it's called, yeah. Anyway, they have a website, and you can get this to basically reach any knot anywhere on your body in a variety of different methods. So say for example, you've got a knot in your shoulder blade, you can use this, like I'm just going to use this to give you an example. I can leverage that inside my elbow, bring this back around to where it's right on my scapula, kind of in the middle of my back, and then I can use this arm and my elbow to really, not trying to hurt myself, but I can really get deep into those knots. So if you've got problems with your back or muscle knots in your back and you don't have anybody to help them out, you can help out yourself with this. Another good thing to have, it never hurts to have a cheap $20 or $30 diagram of muscles and the skeletal system so that you can reference just in case you really don't know what you're doing. Again, I'm not a healthcare professional, but I've been a patient so many times that when I'm working out my own knot, I like to know what direction that muscle goes in. So if I have a problem in my shoulder, I can see that the tissues of the muscle or fascia, whatever you want to call it, it goes either horizontal, vertical, it goes in a certain direction. And if there's a knot in there, or I feel like I have a knot in, knotted up muscle, I know what direction to rub in. So just simple diagram of muscles and the skeletal system can help you figure out how to get that muscle knot out, because most of the time if you try to work out your own muscle knots, it just feels like you're hurting yourself. Speaking of hurting yourself, if you like acupuncture, this thing is awesome. I'm going to get a little bit closer so you guys can see just what I'm talking about. This is like laying on a human pincushion. You put this on the ground. This is your pillow. Very, very slowly lay down onto it. Very slowly get back up. You lay on this for about 15 to 20 minutes, maybe a whole half hour. You might even take a nap on it. Believe it or not, it may be so comfortable. The idea again is to get the blood circulating throughout your whole back. And I don't need to say anything about acupuncture. A lot of people have said it really helps. Whether it does or not, it's something you can try. So that brand name, that's something you can look up online. They got a website, you can get it on Amazon and all kinds of other places. Last thing I got is if you should break an arm or break a shoulder, do something to your skeleton that a doctor is going to tell you, don't lift anything heavy or don't do anything too strenuous for a certain amount of time. Typically it can be anywhere from 6 weeks to 9 weeks. Now within that time, the rest of your muscles in your arm are going to get pretty weak, and having just a simple gripper like this can at least help maintain your grip strength and maintain the muscle strength in your arms, should it be a shoulder problem, or maybe you just broke your arm and when you're all healed up, you need something to just kind of help your grip strength and your wrist strength get back into shape. I kind of like to cheat with this one because it's got a little counter on it. And you can adjust the resistance with this dial. So I don't have to count. I know how many repetitions I'm doing, and depending on how easy or hard it is, I can just adjust it depending on how much strength I want. But the bucket is now empty. So I hope I've helped you guys. If any of you are getting into mountain biking to the point where you're becoming enduro athletes or downhill racers or XC racers, chances are you're going to have some days where your muscles aren't feeling good as they were the day before, or you wake up and you got a really stiff neck or a really stiff back. I know a lot of guys that suffer from mountain bike injuries. There's a lot of problems with shoulder injuries and rotator cuff injuries. So a lot of these things, they can help you. Again, if you're really hurt, definitely don't use this as a replacement for going to a doctor. You still need to get checked out. But when you're at home and you need to recover faster, this is the kind of stuff you need to do. Now, one last thing about posture. I know I mentioned that these have to be straight in line, but if your hips and your shoulders are also in line from front to back, that's another thing that can really help. So one way I can demonstrate that for you guys real quick is if you stick your butt out, do the opposite of that. Pull your hips as far forward as you can. Don't over exaggerate to the point where you're bending your back forward. What you want to do is just keep yourself in line to where your back is totally straight. Now that you've got your hips and your pelvis tilted forward and the lower part of your back is straight, just take your shoulders and roll them up, back, and then just let them drop. Just take all the weight out of your arms and just let them drop like that. But the reason I said roll them back is because you want your shoulders slightly tilted back. Now, as you can see, my shoulders, hips, everything's in a straight line. So any exercises or stretches that anybody's going to recommend to me, I can make sure that I'm doing them right by following those simple tips. But anyway, like I said at the beginning of the video, my name's Sean. This is my mountain biking channel. I'd like to thank you all again for watching, subscribing, sharing. If you have any comments or questions about anything I've gone over in this video, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll do another video that maybe goes a little bit more in depth if there's people that want to know about it. Of course, I want to help. So I hope to see all y'all out on the trails, hopefully with no muscle knots, no soreness, no stiffness, and if you do, you know how to take care of yourself. Cool. Peace and enjoy the ride, people.